We do not hate the Dutch enough. Okay, this is likely the last video I make on the book Revolutie. I highly recommend you read it. But yeah, the Dutch. Like, I got a bunch of Dutch people hating me in my comments, being like, no one thought like this afterwards, no one supported it. And like, the book details how like 30 years after Indonesian independence, the Dutch were like sending death threats to whistleblowers, to guys who are like, yeah, I not only saw but participated in crimes against humanity. And then the Dutch public were like, how dare you say that? You're a coward. You're a traitor. Like, okay. Then it wasn't until I think 2016 where the Dutch started acknowledging some of their war crimes, not all of them, and even then they were sweeping a bunch under the rug. The Dutch are just like the British, like the British rightfully hated for their colonialism. The two places I think that are underhated, the Netherlands and Belgium. I'm going to read the author's book on Belgian colonialism as well. I just need to get through some other books before I get to that. But genuinely, like, we do not hate the Dutch enough. We do not hate the Americans enough. Also, this does talk about the Jakarta method very briefly. There is a book completely about the Jakarta method, which I also want to read at some point. But I got too many books to read right now, so I will get to that. But yes, we do not hate the Dutch enough because listening to the accounts from Dutch soldiers as to what they and their compatriots did in Indonesia is insane. And this is coming from the Dutch soldiers. It's not coming from Indonesians saying that this is what happened. It's not even coming from mixed Indonesian Dutch people saying what happened. It's coming from the Dutch soldiers as to what they happened. And again, they were soldiers. They weren't the ragtag sort of militia that the Indonesians had. The Indonesians did eventually have a formal army, but they were still relatively ragtag compared to the Dutch army, who, again, and also the war was the Dutch going back on multiple agreements that they had had with the Indonesians. They had about 3 to 4 years of agreements set in place, and the Dutch were like, no, we want more, we want more. Sounds a lot like most dying colonial empires. Kind of sounds like the United States right now. We don't hate the Dutch enough. And I'm going to get some more death threats from Dutch people in my comments and my DMs. So